Good day, viewers. You are welcome back to Success Stitches. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for liking our page, and thank you for following our videos. Today I want to work on this project. I'm working on a straight dart bustier. You can call it a shoulder dart bustier or a straight dart bustier. In my previous video I showed you how to cut a princess dart bustier, but today I'm going to be showing you how to cut a straight dart bustier and how to pad it perfectly. So with me here I have my pattern paper, which I'm going to use to pattern it out before transferring it to my fabric. This is the entire fabric I'm going to be using for the blouse, and I have my wording which I'm going to use to pad it. In wording we have the soft wording, we have the medium and the thickest one. This is the medium wording, and that's what I normally use for padding of the bustier. I have my scissors, I have my ruler, I have my neck cuff, my hammer cuff, and my breast cuff, which is very essential in drafting out the bustier. So let's get started. The first thing is the measurement I'm using for this pattern. I'm using bust 42 length. I'm using the length, let me start from the length. I'm using the length of the blouse is 25, but I'm going to be adding it to a gown, so I'm going to be cutting the half length, which is 18. So I'm going to be using length 18, which is the half length, and the under bust is 14. The nipple point, the length to the nipple point is 10, and the nipple radius is 8. The nipple length from the shoulder to my nipple is 10, and the radius of the nipple, that is nipple to nipple, is 8. So the length you are working with is waistline 18, under bust 14, bust 42, under bust 34, and the waistline is 36. You know, that is the circumference. The under bust circumference is 34 and the waist circumference is 36. So the blouse hip, which is, no, I'm not going to use the blouse hip since it's not a long blouse, is a waistline, because I'm going to attach it to gown. It's a straight gown. So the shoulder measurement is 8, and those are what I'll be needing for this pattern. So the first thing is measuring the length that I need. I told you the length I need is 18, and when I was doing the princess dart bustier, I told you that when you measure the length, no addition, no subtraction for the nipple point. So the length I'm going to be working with is 18, and I'm going to be adding 1.5 because I'm going to be joining the up and down. That is 19.5. That is 19.5. So I'll rule it out. So the nipple point, and that is where the work is. When you are doing a straight dart bustier, in princess dart, you know it's going to the armhole. If you check the previous video about princess dart, you don't need to be adding the shoulder measurement. You don't need to be adding SS because it's just going to the armhole. But for shoulder dart bustier, for you to get it perfectly, I don't know how others are doing it, but this is the way I've been doing it, and it's been perfect because I started doing it the normal way before, but it doesn't usually balance when the customer wear it. But ever since I started using this hand, I've been enjoying my bustier. It comes out perfectly okay. So my nipple point, I told you my nipple point is 10, and because you are going to do a shoulder dart to the shoulder, and you know that when you are doing princess dart armhole, you are going to extend your armhole by 1. The same thing applies to this shoulder dart. If your nipple is 10, you have to make it 11. please note it very well. If your nipple point is 10, when you are cutting it, it has to be 11. So this is my nipple point now. By the time I'm through, you will see that it will sit at that 10. And my under bust is 14. Since I have add 1 to my shoulder here, that means my under bust will be 15 also. If I've add 1 to the nipple point, definitely I'm adding down 1 to the under bust too. So that is why I told you that 1 to the under bust and 1 to the waistline. That is 19.5. That is why I have 19.5 here. Let me come again. The nipple point, I add 1 to the shoulder, because by the time we join it, it's going to be excess. The same way you used to extend our armhole, that is going to be excess and you cut it out. So if you don't add it, by the time you finish joining, your nipple point will turn to 9, because you don't add that 1. So when you put that 1, by the time you join it, it will perfect. So after doing this, I'm going to label it. This is my nipple point, that is my MP. UB, that is my under bust, and WL is my waistline. So for my neck, I'm going to be using standard neck. I'm going to be using 4 by 5. I'm going to be using 4 inches by 5 inches, and I take my neck off. You can use any neck. You can use a round neck. You can use a V neck. You can use any neck you like. So my shoulder slope, and you know that our shoulder slope is always by 1. It comes down by 1 here, not at the up, but at where your shoulder extends. So this is our shoulder slope here. So after extending the shoulder slope, the next thing is to put my nipple to nipple, which is nipple to nipple is 4. On the pattern paper, I'm not going to be putting seam allowance. So by the time I want to transfer it to my fabric, I'm going to be putting the seam allowance. But if you know that you are the type that usually forget, you can put it. So this is my nipple to nipple. I've marked it out here, and I stop at the nipple point. So for this shoulder dance bustier, how are we going to draft it out? I told you I'm using bust 42 and under bust 34 and waistline 36. For this bust 42, you can see it's a little bit busty. So how did I want my bustier to come out? The way you sharpen the down here and the up here will determine how your bustier will come out. Let me come again. The way you shaping this under here, under the bust and the waistline and the shoulder, will make your bustier here to shoot out, because by the time you shaping here and you shaping here, it will help the bustier to come out. So for this bust, I always have standard. If I'm sewing for people for like bust 34 to like 40, I might remove 3 inches from this place. And if the person is more bustier, I will look at your bust before I shaping out this place. So for this measurement, I'm going to be using 3.5 inches. I'm going to be removing it. That is excess. So how am I going to remove it? At the bigger side here, which is at the side, I'm going to be removing 3 inches. And that 3 inches, I will rule it to my under bust here. I stop at the under bust. I did not exceed there. And here also, I'm going to be removing half an inch at the center front, so that it will shaping this place. So this center front, I'm going to be shaping it to my under bust also, and also to my nipple points. So here I'm going to need my breast cuff. So this breast cuff is what I'm going to use to cuff it to my nipple point. From here, I'm going to cuff out to my nipple point like this. You see the way I cuffed it out. I'm going to, if you don't have your breast cuff, you can use your free hand, but you see the breast cuff always bring it out well. That means I've already shaping under here this place, that means I have 3.5 that I'm removing here. By the time I shape this place and sew it, and I shape this place, everything will bring out the effect of this bustier. So at my shoulder, because I'm removing 3.5 here, I'm going to remove 3 here. Whatever you are removing at the down, this pattern I'm showing you is my own pattern. It's not that because somebody is doing it, it's my own pattern that I sat down and did myself, and it works out well. If you try it, you will not try any other hand again, I bet you. So at this place I remove 3.5, so I'm going to be reducing half out of here for this place. So this place will be 3 inches. So how will I calculate this? My shoulder is 8 plus the 3 inches that I'm going to cut out here, that is 11, plus joining allowance. You put it when you want to cut out the fabric. I'm going to be joining the sleeve to this, that is 1 inch, that is 12 inches. Shoulder plus the cutting away like you did here, plus 1 for joining the sleeve, because you are still going to trim, for joining your sleeve to your shoulder. So it's going to be 12. So you mark the 12 straight up. I mark the 12 inches straight up. I'm going to mark it to my armhole. So the armhole length, I told you, if you want to get your armhole length, divide your bust by 6 plus 1.5. That is, bust divided by 6 here is 7 plus 1.5, that is 8.5. Bust divided by 6 plus 1.5, that is 8.5. So this is my 8.5 here. This is my armhole length, and this is the middle, 8.5 divided by, that is 4.25. This is the middle of my armhole. So the next thing for me is, after I remove this neck, the 12 that I measure straight, whatever your shoulder may be, it might be 14, it might be anything, but your shoulder plus whatever you are cutting out of this place, plus joining allowance for the sleeve. I told you, you are going to put your seam allowance for the dress when you are cutting the clothes out. So the next thing is, I remove the neck allowance. I told you I'm using neck 4 by 5. So after removing the neck, what is the remaining thing here? Whatever remains here is 8.5. I'm going to divide it into 2 equal parts. That is 4.25. 4.25. You divide it into 2 equal parts, but I'm not going to be bringing the line down. So when you divide it into 2 equal parts, that 3 inches that you are removing, or whatever you are removing, you divide it into 2. So for me, I'm using 3 inches. 1.5 will be here, and 1.5 will be here. Whatever, you know that in this down, you remove the larger part on the side, and you remove the smaller part on the center front. You can't share it into 2 equal parts. This place will be too small. So for shoulder, it has to be equal. I remove 1.5 from here, and I remove 1.5. Whatever remains from neck, after removing your neck to your shoulder, whatever remains will be divided into 2 equal parts. When you divide it into 2, you mark it. So you mark whatever you are cutting away. Since I'm cutting 3 inches away, it will be 1.5 here, 1.5 here. So the first one here, that is going to connect to the one that is coming from under the bust here. I'm going to be connecting it this way. You can use your cuff, you can use your free hand. You see the way I connect it. It's going to come from the under bust like this, the cuff, and it's going to connect to this 1.5 that is here. So the second one also will connect to this one that is here, the 1.5. That means I'm going to cut 3 inches. That means this line you are seeing, let me use another pen to mark it so that you can know. This one is what I'll be cutting away. I'm going to be cutting it away. This one like this, I'm going to be cutting it away. That's why I marked it. And also this one, I'm going to be cutting it away. These are the places I'll cut away. This is it like this. So after getting it like this my armhole, because I'm going to, this place is coming down, it's not straight. This my armhole will be too much, and by the time you cross check it, you have 2.5 here, you have 2.5 here, that's 5, and you have your neck 4. By the time you join it finish, you will say that it will accurate your shoulder. But if you don't put the excess, by the time you cut this place finish, your shoulder will not be accurate. So for this place, if you see what I'm cutting away is 2.5 here. So, and I have shoulder of 12, that means I will have like 9.5 here, is too much. So for this armhole here, I'm going to be coming in by 1 inch here. You know, before we normally come in by 1/2 inch, but this one I'm going to be coming in very well, so that it will not be bulgy at the armhole. So this is how you are going to mark it out. So your armhole is going to sharp in and go out. It's going to be sharp here. So when you bring it out like this is how it's going to be. It's not just going to be the normal way of doing it. So the next thing is to put my measurement. For my measurement, I do my bust is 42. So bust 42, I have 1/2 inch here that is going to cut away. 42 divided by 4, that is 10.5. So 10.5 plus the 1/2 inch that I'm going to cut away here, that is 11. So your seam allowance, the joining allowance, I'm going to be putting it on my fabric. Your seam allowance 2 inches. I'm going to be putting joining allowance when I'm cutting it. So for the under bust is 34, that is 8.5. 8.5, and you look at this place, I have 3 inches that I'm cutting away. So these 3 inches, I'm going to add it to 8.5, that will be 11.5. So 11.5 plus 2 inches seam allowance, you can see I'm taking it up. So here also I have 3.5 inches that I'm cutting away. You add it to your measurement. So this place is 36, that is the waistline. So 9, that is 36 divided by 4 is 9. That is 9 plus 3.5, that is 12.5. And 2 inches seam allowance. So I'm going to be connecting everything together like this. This is my straight line, and I'm going to shape it down. I'm going to come up by 1 inch. I'm going to use it to shape it down here. You can come up more than if you want. And if you want a basket waistline, that means you measure your full length and shaping it to the waistline here. So this is just this is a very simplest way of cutting a shoulder dart bustier. Add 1 inch to your nipple point. If your nipple point is 10, add 1 inch to it to make it 11. The same way you add it to your under bust. If your under bust is 13, add the 1 inch that you have add here is still extending here, that is 14. Like my own is 14, that is 15. And your waistline too, you add 1 inch to it also. So, and here at your shoulder, whatever you are cutting away, make sure you add it to it, so that by the time you finish it will balance. So I'm going to cut it out now, because I want to show it for you to see how I'm going to cut it out. And I'm going to show you how to pad it. So this is the neckline, and this is the shoulder, and this is the armhole. And this is the side. I cut it in a singular form. You should know it's going to be double. So I'm going to be cutting out the bust here now. So from here, please, you have to be careful. Don't let your hand shift, so that this place can be balanced. You can see our bust here is coming out really good. This is the side, and this is the center front. So you can see my excess that is out now. So this is the excess that is out. You see what I cut out? This is my excess that I cut out. So This is how the bustier is. See how the bustier is. So by the time I join this place and I join this place, this bustier is going to come out well. So this is it like this. The next thing is to cut it on my fabric. You can do any back you like. You can make it an off shoulder too, whatever you like. If you want to make it an off shoulder, you just remove your shoulder length out of it and place it. So this is what I'm going to cut now. So I'm going to cut it like this. I told you I'll cut it single, but on the fabric I'm going to cut it double. So I'm going to place this one on it, on the fabric, and mark out the seam allowance. You are going to put half inch. I'm going to put half inch round. So half inch round. So this is what I'm going to cut out. I'm marking it out with my chalk, though the chalk does not show very well. So I've added my half inch seam allowance to the center front. Please don't forget to add your seam allowance. It's very, very necessary. So this is the center front, and the side also. This is the side also. I'm going to bring out the shape first before I add my seam allowance. So I'm going to add my seam allowance of half an inch that I'm going to use to join it. You see it now? I've added my seam allowance of half an inch. So I'm going to cut out the side. I've already put my shoulder joining, so I might not need to be adding allowance there. So this is the down. I'm going to bring out the shape. So you have to mark the wrong side so that you won't make mistake. So this is the fabric now, and this is the pattern on it. You see, this is the pattern on it. So you are going to use it to cut lining. The same way you cut it, you are going to use it to cut your lining and your interfacing if you are putting a stay on it. I'm just going to show us only the front here. So let me keep my pattern. So how are you going to cut wording to it? This is how to cut your wording. This is my wording here. So, and the wording has front and back. That means it has gum here. That is the one that will rest on the fabric. So this place now, I'm going to place it like this. You can see the way I place the wording is not up to the shoulder. Don't put your wording to the shoulder, because it will be dragging the shoulder of the cloth. So how do you get how to put your wording? The wording will be 1 inch below the neck line. This is the neckline here. It has to be 1 inch below the neckline. So the other side too, and the other side too, the same way. You just have to check it. You see that it's below, it's on the same page here. So you are going to mark it out. You can use your chalk, you can use your pen so that it can show. So you are now going to measure it to your under bust. That is where the shape is. That is where it will stay. Don't let it be to your waist, because it will be dragging it. That's 15. because we use 15 because of the shoulder. So I'm going to open it small and mark the length of the wadding, where the wadding is going to reach, and it's the same way it's going to reach on the other side too. You can see this is the under bustier. So you are going to bring out the shape of the cup here like this. That's the shape there, and here also. So this is what I'm going to cut out. So this is the center front here. The stay is very thick. So this is the center front, and this is the wadding inside. You see how the wadding is. So you just, I used to notch the up so that I won't put the up at the down. And you see it is not up to the neckline. You shouldn't let your wadding enter into your neckline, because it will be dragging your neckline. So the other side, which is the cup side, so you know our breast is fuller at the side. The only thing is you will not let it to enter your sewing allowance. So after cutting it out like this, after marking it out like this, I'm going to be giving it a shape at the side, as if we are cutting a bra. It's going to come like round like this, so that it will be able to firm on the side. You can see the way I'm cutting it. It's not just straight, it's come as a round. It will be as if you wear bra. When you do this kind of bustier I'm teaching you, you will not even need to wear bra. You will not even need anything, because the lifting is there itself. So I used to notch up, because this thing you can make mistake. Nobody is above mistake. So this is the upper side. So let me put it on the fabric for you to see what I'm talking about. When you shape it out, you see, so this is the remaining excess. So when you shape it out, the only thing is don't let it to enter your seam allowance. You see the way it is curved, that is the way it will sit, like as if you wear a bra. This is where it will sit. I'm going to take it to the machine now and show you how to sew it and how to hem it down, because some people by the time they wear it, it will be shifting. But I'll show you some tricks that you can do to it, that by the time you do it, it will sit well and it will not shake. Don't forget, I notched the upper side so that I will not go and place it like this. You know, it's almost the same thing, but it's not. The shape is different from each other. So that is why I always notch the upper part, for me to know that is my upper part. I told you before joining it, you cut your lining. If you are going to put interfacing, you will have cut everything down. So I'm going to the machine now to show you how to sew it. So I'm already on my machine now. I want to show you how to sew it. This is the right side and this is the left side. This is the inner in. So I've already marked it. So you are going to place your wadding like this. The way I cut it, that's the way you are going to put it. I told you it's 1 inch below the neck. So I'm going to secure it down by sewing it like this. I'm going to sew the, some people used to gum it, but in some cases this wadding is not as gummed as before again. That's why you need to sew it down so that it will not be removing when you are doing it. I've already secured it down. There is no way it can remove whenever I'm doing it. And I trim out the excess. This is the center front. So for the sides, this is the inside I'm going to put it. I told you I've notched the up, so I will use it to know that this is the up. The way the shape is the way I'm going to sew it down. I've secured it down also. I trim any excess that is there. You can see what I'm doing. I trim away the excess, and also the other side too. As you can see, the notching is up so that everything will balance by the time I'm sewing it. So I've already sewn it down also. So the next thing for me is to join the three of them together, the center front and the two sides, and I'll show you how to firm it down so that it will not be removing or it will not be shifting when you are wearing it. So this I'm going to be putting it this side like this. I'm going to be putting it here. So I've already secured it down. I'm going to be putting it from the down. You are going to join the three together. I will start with the one from the down. So when I start like this, half an inch that you have put, and as I'm coming, I'm going to roll this one, which the up one. I'm going to roll it. So you don't draw it like this. You have to be rolling it because it's curved and you are putting it into a straight line. So you have to be curving it like that. Sorry, my thread finished, but I have an extra here. So when you are coming like that, you sew it to the up. So you see what I told you about adding an inch to your nipple length. I will show you now. So this place you are going to notch it. Don't notch it too much. Don't let it go and tear. You are going to notch it. By the time you open it, you see the shoulder now, that this one. So you can see that after sewing it, this place is longer than here. So if I don't add that's my 1 inch extra, by the time I finish, my nipple point will have shortened more than what it's supposed to be. Look at the way the bustier is out now. This is just one side. When I now measure my nipple, you will see that I have my 10 there. So the second side, I'm going to look what is the excess here. That is what I'm going to take. I'm going to check it like this. I have excess here. Wherever it reach, that is where I will start on the other side too. So that the same measurement will be for both sides. And I'll sew it down. So as I'm coming, I'll roll it again. I'm rolling it down. Don't just draw it, and make sure it's equal at the down. If it's not equal, please lose it back and do it again. Don't just patch it like that. You have to lose it back and do it again. So I notched it. You can see how my bustier is out now on its own without anything. You see how it comes out. Just take a look at it for yourself. You see, because this place is well shaped and also the shoulder is well shaped, you can see how it comes out, and this is how it's going to be on you. So let me show you what to do so that you can firm it down, so that it will not be shifting. Let's take it to the table, so that let me take it to the table for you to see very well. So I'm through with joining it now. You can see how my bustier comes out. I will still open it for you to see it very well. So I'm going to cross check my measurements. If I'm correct, my bust is 42, that's 10.5, plus my 2 inches allowance, I have 12.5 here. My under bust is 8.5, plus my 2 inches allowance, I have my measurement, and my waistline, I have 11 here. So at my nipple point here, I told you the nipple point is 10. So we are going to trim out the excess here. So after the excess, your armhole, you return it back so that it can perfect your armhole. And if you see the shoulder, you can see it's perfect also. So I'm going to trim the excess away and trim out my armhole. So this is it like this. And check your shoulder. You now see what I'm saying about the shoulder. This is 8.5 here. That means 8 inches for my shoulder and half inches. You can see that the excess I cut away, if you look at it, you can see it's equal on both sides. I have 5 here. So if you don't put those excess, so after doing it like that, this is how it is in the inside, on the inside, and this is how it is on the outside also. You can see how the bustier comes out very well. See how it puffs out on its own. You can see. So how to secure it down so that it will, when you are washing it, it will not be folding in. This is my needle and thread. No matter how many I want to make, I'm not always in haste to do this thing, because it will really help your bustier to stand firm so that it will not be moving around. So this is my needle and thread. I've passed my thread in it. So the next thing for me, I'm going to hem it down. That means I'm going to hem both the wadding and the joining allowance. Just take a look at it like this. I'm going to be hemming it like this and tack. You take out of the wadding and the fabric, this place that you sew, you see this joining allowance, you take out of it and fabric and tack it. Take it out. It will not show outside. You take it, you do like this and tack. You can see the way I'm tacking it. It's not going to be too far from themselves so that it can hold firm. You take it and tack. And this is how you are going to do it for this side. Let me show you finish this side, and I'll do the other side also. So when you are coming like this, that's how I'm going to do it. I'm still doing it to this place, you see. No matter how, you have to, when you do it, your bustier will not shift. It will stand firm there. You can actually iron itself. When you are through like this, you can use iron and iron the middle. It doesn't affect it. You know that as I've reached this place, I will not cut the thread. I'll turn to the other side too. You lay it on the wadding. This is the other side. This is the other side too. So that's what I will do to the down. There is no way it will shift, and that's the logic I've been using. That's the trick I've been using all these years, and it has been working for me. It will make your wadding to stand firm, and it will not shift the clothes. The wadding in the bustier that you wear, there are no form of any abnormalities in it because you have already tacked it down. So you see, and after it I will have to tack it very well. So I'll cut. So this is the same thing I'll do to the other side too. You see it before tacking, you see it will be bending by itself, but when you tack it this way, you can actually use iron and open it up like this. Open it up, see it outside, you know that there is no line showing. So by the time you even iron it, it will make it more relaxed. So I'll do the second side and come and show you. So I'm through with the hemming for both sides. You can see it here and here. So I have this my foam that I normally use to iron bustier or cup. So I want to use it to iron it so that you can know that you can actually iron it. But you need to find something that goes up like this so that it won't flatten your bustier. So this is it like this. Since you have already secured it down, there is no way it will not balance. So you open it to the shoulder also. By the time you finish, you see that your bustier will comes out very okay. And it has been very helpful for me since I started using this hand. So when you iron it, you see the way I'm doing it. Don't iron it on a flat table. Iron it on something like this so that it will not flatten the shape of the bustier. So this is it. After ironing, you can actually iron it outside also. I will just show you how to iron it inside. So you see it, this is the bustier, and as you can see, it's coming out perfectly on its own without anything, as in shifting your hand. You see, it's perfect. This place is choked. By the time you wear it, it will fit, and the shoulder too. So thanks so much for staying tuned. If you enjoyed this video, kindly give it a thumbs up, and if you have any question, you can drop it in the comment section. And also, before I forget, if you want to make it an off shoulder, what do you do? Like, you like the way it comes out like this, what do I normally do is, if my shoulder for off shoulder is 5, I'll just remove like this 5, and I'll shape it out whatever neck I want. When I shape it out, when you remove this place, you can see that it has turned to an off shoulder like this. You can see it's the same way. I'll just remove that off and leave it. Thank you so much for staying tuned to the end of this video. Thank you.